Yo, it's JTS, welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to be fixing more cars. Jeez, looks like someone hasn't cleaned their mess up in here. Right, got 4KA on the ramp, absolute weapon. Little whip, mate. Yeah, rubbish. Yeah, so I got some cleaning up to do. But yeah, on to today's video. We are going to be fitting a rear exhaust elite section, twin pipe, onto a Mk7 Golf 1.6 TDI. So yeah, bit of fun in this video today. It's already made up, see, you've got the twin pipes. So we're going to be converting it from standard back box with one pipe outlet into the twin pipe. So yeah, bit of rubbish start to the day this morning. Also, I've got paint all over my Tommy jacket. So yeah, not ideal, but hopefully this job goes a bit better. Here you go, guys, got the doors open now, so a bit more light in there, you can see what we're doing. So, back box, and the single exit here. So we're gonna need to cut around this section here with some special exhaust cutters. These are my apprentices, Jason's, because mine are so blunt, because I've worked too hard. They basically wrap around the exhaust and cut it. Obviously, a disc cutter can't really get around the sides. So yeah, good bit of kit that is. And the exhaust, obviously we're hoping to get a bit more noise out of it. I'm gonna bang my head cam back on, and then you guys can see what I'm doing clearly. So yeah, enjoy. If you guys seen my last video, you would have noticed that these gloves are absolutely useless. So I have invested in some new gloves from Screwfix. Also, these are good because if you're working on exhaust like we are today, see, these will protect your hands if the exhaust system's hot or whatnot. So yeah, and also look, they've already split, see, rubbish. So I'll bang these on. Right, first things first, we are going to measure the exhaust setup to see where it needs cutting. So you can see the hangers here need to line up as the old ones do. So it's around there. And then you've got obviously taking this to consideration where the tips are actually going to come out of the rear diffuser there. So when you're happy, ideally you need two people doing this job. There's a pain in the ass to hold. When you're happy with where you want to cut, so I'd say around here, tip X a mark, which I can't quite do yet because I've not got free hands. Where you want to cut it, which I'm going to do now. And then, if you've got one of these at home, brilliant. If not, and you're going to struggle with a saw, cut the exhaust pipe. The way this works is you clamp them together like that, and this adjusts the tightness, and then you can then turn and it will gradually cut through the exhaust tubing. So I haven't actually tip X a mark. I've done this job plenty of times before, so I know what I'm doing. But yeah, for reference, do tip X mark. So you don't want to ever cut it too short, because otherwise you're going to be, you know, not be able to bolt it on, which would be a bloody nightmare. So yeah, I always make sure I leave enough. So I'm going to cut mine around here, because I've done it so many times before, and I know if I cut it too short, then this exhaust tube in here may not line up, and then you're stuck. So yeah. Okay, on to the next tool. You're going to need a 13mm on a small extension bar, preferably 3/8, and then an impact gun or a ratchet, whatnot. So it's to remove these hangers here. So as you can see, there's a 13mm there and a 13mm there. So you can either take them out, which I'm going to do, or you can struggle and remove these rubber mounts with a pry bar. So I'm going to use the 3/8 ratchet gun. Just be careful the exhaust don't fall on your head as well, because you will be crying. So hold there to support it. There's a handful of dirt in my face. That's out. Right. And then the exhaust system should, if I cut it correctly, drop off. There's a little bit there at the top. Whoa. Okay. So these mounts need to come off with a bit of WD-40, so tight, and they need to be mounted onto these new mounts here. Now it's a big if, but if you've got a vise, brilliant, because you can then get these mounts off easily. So WD-40, WD-40. If you don't have a vise, I feel sorry for you, so you're gonna have to wrestle it to the ground, because these are a nightmare sometimes to get off. Best way I find, get a flathead screwdriver, bang it in there, make sure you've got WD-40 on it, watch your finger, and then lip it over. I'm gonna struggle now. Like that. And there you go. Now we've got our friend here, Jason. He's my new apprentice. He's holding the exhaust up for me. Jason, the real Jason's off. So yeah, he's gonna be our new apprentice for today. You can see a few problems. So yeah, the diffuser, the cusper's not bought a new one. So first step, we need to create a hole in here. However you want to cut it, that is up to you. I'm gonna use probably a junior hacksaw or possibly a little grinder. Once it's all in line, I'm gonna get that shape cut out nice and neatly. Second problem, in this kit, they have supplied, here we go, an adapter. The adapter's too big. And you can see the exhaust here doesn't actually correspond with the old exhaust size. So there's a big gap, which the clamp isn't gonna seal that gap. So this adapter that they've supplied me fits perfect with the old exhaust. And then we're gonna cut this large adapter down to around here. Okay, so I've done a few measurements. I found that I need to cut the exhaust here on the actual delete pipe and here on the adapter pipe, because this size is a direct fit onto that part there. So I've left a little bit of length here as well, and I've kept this length here just in case I do need to trim it. Like I said before, if you do end up cutting them too short, then you're left with problems. Using my headphones and my goggles for PPE with my GoPro. I know I look like a top class knob, but at least no one can see me because no one's in the yard. Well, apart from you guys. So now we've got our little adapter pipe fitted onto the original exhaust and onto the back box. You can just see there, sorry, I'm using my iPhone torch, typical of a garage. No torch is fully charged. Yeah, you can just see there, and you can see there, that's where I've cut them. And I've got it up with Jason here. He's holding the exhaust again. Got it up and it's all relatively in line. Other than this tip here, we still got to adjust. But yeah, make sure the exhaust's all in line. Get the mounts bolted back in like I have done. This tip can be adjusted either way. So because it's only clamped on, we've still got movement in it, as you can see there. And they've only supplied us with 4 clamps. We've got 1 clamp there, 1 clamp there. We've got 1 clamp here and 1 there. So that leaves us with 2 clamps missing. So what I'm going to do, because I can weld, I'm going to weld so it's a solid fitment across these 2 pipes and across these 2 here. But before I do weld, I'm just going to make sure 100% everything's bang on where I need it to be. That is some sick, serious welding. Let me show you. So you can see, I've just welded, well, spot welded across there, and I'm going to carry on all along there and around the sides. And to get to the top as well, I'm going to have to just basically bend my back in half and, yeah, struggle. I don't know if any of you are welders, but this is my MIG welding mask, and I have trouble with the blue light from the sparks and the actual welding, the arc going through the mask at the bottom, just through this gap here and underneath. So I've literally cable tied this red microfiber, this beautiful little cloth, just to protect any sparks and any blue light eliminating through into the helmet. 'Cause sometimes, obviously, if some of you are welders, you'll know that arc high is quite bad, and if the blue light gets in and around the mask, it can actually damage your eyes. So yeah, just thought I'd just pimp up my welding mask. Okay, now the welds are done. You can see I've welded them all the way around, including the top as well. I just managed to get the MIG welding torch just below this heat shield and just on the top of the exhaust there. So yeah, I've covered the whole lot. If you've got a welder, that's great, because welding them is a lot better job than actually clamping with exhaust clamps. More of a permanent job. Yeah, so exhaust is sitting pretty now. This tip is perfectly lined, so you've got a little gap at the top. It's your preference really, or the customer's preference, how you want the exhaust tips to fit. This kit here, so you can either bolt them out here, sticking out pretty stupidly like that. In this case, I'm probably going to have mine sat around there. Okay, and all we've got left to go is to mark out the cutout hole on the diffuser. Ideally, if you do have a Mk7 and you do go for this exhaust setup, I'd get a gloss black diffuser with pre-cut holes. That meaning you don't have to mess around with, you know, cutting holes in the old diffuser. So we're going to measure this gap to that gap, and also the depth of it, or the height, and then we're going to measure this gap and that gap, just so we get the same size and the same, so the holes are symmetrical. We don't want one, you know, slightly longer or slightly shorter than the other side. So yeah, I'm going to get some Tipex marks out, Tipex where we're going to cut, and then yeah, sweet. Okay, so from there to there, looking at 6 inches. So mark out a bit of Tipex, and let's bend that down. 6 inches, that is there. And then we want to mark out, drop this exhaust on, the distance in between the gap. So that is, call it 13 centimeters. So from this mark, oh bollocks, to there, and then we want to measure the distance, let's say from here to there, let's call that 4 centimeters, and then mark it out somewhere in the middle. Around there. Alright, and then the rest is kind of guesswork. You're just gonna have to follow where you want to cut roughly. I'm going to use a disc cutter. It may not be perfect, but like I said, better off getting a diffuser if you're going to do this job. Okay, so that's actually burnt some of the plastic around the sides here, you can see. Come on, there you go. Which is not a problem, but as soon as we've cleared that up, we can get a bit of sandpaper in there and sand it down, which I'm going to do next. It's not too bad, so get that aligned. Yeah, obviously it's got to be shaped as well. Okay. All right, we started when it was light, now it is dark, and I'm getting tired. So, we are nearly there. Exhaust tips are sitting proper. Let's get this light on. There you go, sweet. A bit more light. Yeah, so the exhaust cutout is looking good. It sits in there pretty neat. Now we've adjusted both the tips up. The exhaust is sat pretty much bang on. The only thing I was going to say about this setup is the clamps. We've tightened them all up, it's as tight as they'll go, and he's still got movement in them, see? So I'm not very happy sending the job out with the clamps loose like that, because you might hit a speed bump and you know it's going to move around and wobble. So I was thinking of spot welding, obviously because I've got a welder, these joints, just so it keeps it all rigid. When I got it bang on, it will sit pretty and it won't move. If you've not got a welder, then find someone who can weld or use different clamps, maybe find some smaller and tighter clamps. I don't know why they supplied these clamps if they're not going to tighten up fully. Yeah, it's a good seal, good fit, but they just literally don't tighten up as well as it should do. And the only other thing as well, on these, if you can see there, on these exhaust mounts, sometimes it can pay to weld a little washer around this side here, just so any movement like that, you know that the mount is definitely not going to slip off. So that's another thing to keep in mind. So we've spot weld there, and we've got two on the tips. So we've got one there and one on the other side. Now you can see, no matter what you do, that's tight. You can give it a knock, so that's a speed bump, and nothing's moving. All you need is just literally a little bit of spot welding. It hasn't got to be all the way around, because the clamps should seal the pipes together. But yeah, that's it. So obviously you can adjust the tips out of whatever distance you want. See, we've gone for that kind of look there, and I've measured each tip just to make sure they stick out the same on both sides, which I do, which is great. So yeah, thanks for watching. I'm going to give you guys a little road test now. I'm going to actually strap this GoPro to the back screen. Basically bought a tripod mount that suctions to the back screen, and then hopefully get some noise and some better performance out of it. So yeah, I'll show that in the next clip. Enjoy. Right guys, number one, my selfie stick is meant to be invisible, but it's not, because my camera's not compatible with the 360 view. Number two, sound quality is terrible. Number three is raining. Number four, yeah, I couldn't get very high speeds the first time I used the camera on the car mount for the third person view. But yeah, enjoy what I've got anyways. Thanks for watching guys.